gentlemen, I'll be doing a head-to-head comparison of the vintage style metal mouthpiece from Vandoren versus the vintage style metal mouthpiece from Otto Link. So up here we have our modern vintage metal Otto Link. This is a 6-star, and down here we have our large chamber metal T5, and it's got its 1940s vintage kind of sound that it's modeled after. Both of these mouthpieces have a small bore, so it's a little bit of a push to get them onto the neck. I got a separate neck that I had corked just to get these smaller bore mouthpieces to fit properly. That also definitely plays into the final result of this head-to-head comparison. Now the Vandoren isn't really that bad. It's definitely smaller, but the Otto Link, that bore is really, really small. So I'll get to that later. A lot of you are cross-shopping these mouthpieces, and they both go for right around the same price, with a slight exception with the Vandoren. I got this Vandoren T5 for $300 with the ligature and the cap. And mostly I've seen this selling for $400, but I think because it's a small facing T5, large chamber, somebody was just selling it either on Amazon or Musician's Friend. I wound up getting it for $100 off. But it can be done because I did it. And the modern vintage metal Otto Link goes for $300 with the cap and your standard Otto Link ligature also. So this one comes, like I said, with the standard Otto Link ligature. I'm going to review both of these mouthpieces as they come in the mail. So I'm not going to swap out ligatures because this is what you get when you pay for it. Also, I'm going to use the same reed. I've also noticed a huge difference in the venues that I'm playing these mouthpieces in versus the sound that I get when I'm actually playing the mouthpiece. So I'm going to play them in two different venues, one more reflective than the other, but you'll get an idea of what it is that you prefer. All right, so let's get to it. Alright, so this is the Otto Link Modern Vintage. Okay, so with the Otto Link, this is definitely one of the most well-balanced mouthpieces I have ever played in my life, by far. It is extraordinarily well-behaved and well-balanced as a mouthpiece. So now I got the T5, and I'm using the Vandoren ligature that it comes with, and I'm using the same reed. So it is actually a little bit smaller than the 6-star modern vintage Otto Link. This one is coming in between a 6 and a 6-star. All right, so here we go. Okay, the Vandoren definitely has a type of low-end bias to it, where the low end is very, very rich and easy to play. Now, when I approach anything about my sound, I like to build my sound from the ground up. If the bottom of the mouthpiece is wrong, I pretty much don't even waste my time trying, because I use so much of the entire range of the horn. I had 4.5 octaves is huge, and I like to have all the notes, and it builds up from the ground ups. All right, just to throw this in case you guys are cross-shopping a regular Otto Link Super Tone Master, this is my old 8-star that I'm going to throw into the mix, and then you guys can get a comparison of how different that mouthpiece sounds from the two of these mouthpieces here. All right, so check this out. This is my old but not vintage Otto Link Super Tone Master 8-star. Okay, the Otto Link and the Vandoren are both modeled after vintage Otto Link mouthpieces, and that makes them basically sound very, very similar. Now, for me, one of the most annoying things that I find on YouTube is when people are comparing mouthpieces and then they sound exactly the same on both of them. And then I found myself like, wow, these two things sound really, really similar when I'm listening back to them. When I'm playing them, they sound way different, and they really play differently in terms of the response. Now, like I said before, this Vandoren definitely has this low bias thing, and the Otto Link has this super well balanced thing going on. Which brings me to the most important point that I can make. The biggest difference in the sound is going to come from the player's own personal biases and sound preference. I'm going to wind up playing this mouthpiece differently from this mouthpiece if I tend to favor low-end sounds from a tenor saxophone. Now, if I generally just play in a very neutral type of way, I might prefer the Otto Link. And because I'm playing the Otto Link and I'm more comfortable, I'm going to be tempted to push that mouthpiece in a slightly different way. So hopefully I can present to you a presentation of both of these mouthpieces in such a way that will allow you to gravitate toward one or the other if you are cross-shopping these two mouthpieces. Another thing, ultimately, is that there was a winner. In short, the Otto Link is done. I'm going to wind up selling this mouthpiece, and not because of the way it sounds or the way it plays. Actually, listening back to it, I like it even more than what I did before. The reason why is because of that really small bore. I've had to get a separate neck recorked in such a way that it's smaller. And because it's so small, I wind up not being able to play my larger bore mouthpieces because I can't play them in tune because they keep just falling onto the neck. And what was a $300 mouthpiece is now a $700 mouthpiece because I had to get this extra neck. And then I can only play this mouthpiece on it. And to be honest, I'm kind of tired of that. I don't really know if having such a small bore is really what gives it its distinctive vintage sound. I'm not really convinced of that. It might be, but it's definitely not worth a $700 investment. My hard rubber Otto Link Modern Vintage has the same issue with that really small bore. So, okay, there you go. See ya.